All right, about year 2008, 2007, 2008, um, I decided to purchase a car for restoration. I don't know if anybody has seen them old school cars that folks get, and they kind of shine them up, put new parts on them, new paint job, new wheels, new sound, new music, all that stuff, and they restore it back to its original appearance from the days. Well, I wanted to do that because I had some friends, some frat brothers of mine who actually were doing it, but they did a lot of Chevys and stuff from that back in the day, those kind of cars, and I really didn't like that. I really was a Dodge guy. I was a Mopar guy. I grew up watching Knight Rider, of course, and I grew up watching Dukes of Hazzard. So I always liked that Dodge Charger, you know. So the 68, 69, 70 Dodge Charger. So I went online and was able to purchase a 1970 Dodge Charger Roller. Okay, but for some of you guys who aren't really into the car game, a roller is a car without an engine, without a motor. So it just rolls. It's just on wheels, and that's all you got. So the car that I got out of Effingham, Georgia, Springfield, Effingham County, Springfield, was empty car. It didn't have any seats. It had wheels, and it had, I don't think it even had doors, but it was, had a hood, and it basically was in, a pretty decent shape for a 1970 Dodge Charger. It was burnt orange. And I was like, yeah, that's what's up. I'm gonna get this, and this, I'm gonna start working on this, and I'm gonna restore it. I'm gonna be back up to normal, like, in no time. The funny thing about this was I don't know anything about car restoration. I'm not a mechanic. I'm not a body guy, body detail guy. I'm not any of that. So I don't know what I was thinking, but at the time I really, really was going through a lot. Just a lot, professionally, a lot just personally. And so I needed something to distract me. And I said, let's get into this car game. So that's what I did. I had this car. I called a guy locally in Macon and asked him, could I leave it at his body shop? Because the way my subdivision is, I have an in lot, but I don't have the room where I don't have a backyard per se, where a fenced in lot where I can keep it personal or away from everybody else. So he was like, we don't really work with 1970 cars. Those are more classics, but I got a guy here that you can kind of pay, yourself as you go, and you can kind of work with him, and I'll keep it here on my lot. He wasn't even going to charge me. So I was like, cool, bet. So I had the car delivered there, and occasionally every other week I would give the guy some money. He would tell me what I needed. You need some new floor pans. You need, a new gas tank. You need, some quarter panels. He would tell me what I needed, and I would be like, okay, cool. So, we were in this together. So I would go and get the parts, bring it back to him, and he would work on them. Now this was going on about a little under a year, 7, 8 months. And during that time, I bought a 1963 Plymouth Fury 3. Yeah, I saw it in a Robbins Rev Up, and everybody, that's like a community paper that, like, Craigslist or whatever. So I saw it in there. I went and bought it for about $1,500. I bought the Dodge Charger, the 70 Charger, for about $2,500. So I bought this other car for about, well, I think it was $1,500. So, and this car, it had a 383 4-barrel engine and transmission. So that's 727 transmission. So that's what I was going to use from that old school car to put into the 1970. So I was like, I'm cool in the game. I'm working. This thing is actually coming along pretty good. Now, every day I was looking up Mopar magazines. I was online. I was researching. I was studying. I was getting into the car game. I was going to car shows. I was in it. Like, I was definitely learning so much about the Mopar car game and just restoration in general. So I was like, man, this is coming along pretty good. Still didn't know anything. My dad was a mechanic. I mean, all I did was hold a flashlight and hand him tools. I wish I really would have been paying attention during that time, because I'd be a whole lot better than what I am now. But so here we are, about 8, 9 months into it, and I get a phone call, which scared me to death. The owner of the body shop calls me and says, "Hey man, the tax man got me. I got to get rid of all these cars off my lot because they're about to confiscate them, and I can't have that because this is y'all stuff. I'm right now. I got about 3 or 4 cars on the back of these tow trucks. I got these flatbeds. I'm trying to get them out of here. And I'm going crazy because I'm like, well, what's going on with my car? And he was like, I'm moving it here, I'm moving it there, whatever. So during all this time, he woke me up out of my sleep. We talked about this. I want to say he never told me, and I can't put that on him because I don't know if he really if he told me in a conversation. I just got lost, but I just didn't know where he was taking my car. So he never called back. So I got in my other car, and drove up there to the place in Macon. And of course, all the cars were gone. He wasn't lying. He was actually moving them around. And so I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I just said, I'll wait a week or so and see if I can hear from him. A week passed, a month passed, several months passed, several years passed. And during that time of me, having that car in the first 8 to 10 months, I was collecting parts. So my whole garage looked like a chop shop. Like I had hood hinges, I had, inside materials, I had car seats, I had car doors that I had bought. I had so much stuff that I had bought just sitting around, brake lights, tail lights, all that good stuff. And so never heard from him. 3, 4 years passed, 5, 6 years passed. I give up. I say, this car is gone. Ain't no telling what happened to it. Life is life, and life moves on. And I kind of go with the flow. I said, you know what? This wasn't meant for me. During that time of my darkness and all that time, God directed me and put me, distracted me with all this stuff. So, maybe that's what it was meant to be in the first place. So I live my life. Car is gone. I don't even think about it anymore. I start going to car shows. Many of you may realize or remember, I started getting into trucks. I always had a 2005 Dodge Ram. When my dad passed, I inherited his 2007 GMC. So I had a couple pair. Excuse me, I'm sweating out here. I had a couple pair of lifted trucks. I went to some truck shows, car and truck shows. I still was into it, and I started putting my energy into the truck scene. So that's what I did. I started lifting it, putting on rims, putting on big not monster tires, but more mud tires and bigger tires, and getting a lift and all this stuff. So yeah, I just was into that. And in the process, I met this guy named CJ Jackson, a mobile audio video solutions in Byron. You guys check him out. He's the best and all that stuff. He does all my stuff with my cars and trucks. So just from that relationship we had, I would go over there and we'd talk. And CJ is really into collecting cars. He has a crazy amount of cars and motorcycles and everything. That's what he does. That's his hobby. And he, I think that what connected us a lot too. So one night I came from after work, and I went by the shop, and him and his boys were out there, and we were just talking cars. And, I just said, I'm going to share my story about the car that got away. I had a 1970 Dodge Charger. It was like we were all talking about the big fish that got away. And I was like, man, I had a 1970 Dodge Charger. And they were like, what do you mean had? What happened to it? Blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know, but I had it, and I was working on it, and then it just, got picked up, and I'm not sure what happened to it, but I got lost, tax man, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, what? So, like, it was one of those stories like, nah, man, come on, man, you got to tell us what happened. So I was like, that's it. And he said, you don't know where it is. I said, I don't know where it is. I mean, I have been asking the street committee and making, trying to get in touch with the guy who owned the body shop. And I didn't know anything. They told me a street name, but the street name didn't match up to where I was going. I mean, I saw the street, but like I couldn't find it. Like whenever I went down there, I couldn't see it. It was, a lot of overbrush. I was like, man, this car ain't there. And I never asked anybody. I just went looking because I was like, man, ain't nobody gonna believe me that I'm up here looking for a 1970 Dodge Charger, that's been gone 8, 9, 10 years ago. So, whatever. So I just never looked for it. So as we were talking and everybody was sharing their stories, he goes, "Hey man, I think I found your car." And I said, "What?" He's on Google Maps and he looks up this street and he goes, and he zooms in and he brings me the phone. He goes, "Hey, doesn't that look like a B-body taillight?" Anybody who knows anything about 1968, 70 B-body taillights, they all kind of look familiar. The taillights, kind of like of the new Chargers today, they kind of have, but the new Charger has one long taillight. The old ones were like cut in half, and they kind of look like the new ones, but they're kind of cut in half. So I was like, man, I guess so, but you know, I mean, how long ago was that picture taken on Google? I don't know. And he was like, "Hey man, let's go get your car." Like he was ready to go get it. He has a trailer. He was like, "Let's go get it." And he said, "You got the bill of sale?" I was like, "Dude, man, I don't know where all that stuff is, man. I don't know where that stuff is." Because I really, at the time, didn't even know how long it had been gone. I just knew it was, but, you know, I had moved on, you know what I'm saying? So when I finally went home and started looking up the paperwork to find out how long had my car been missing, this was 2022. 2022. It was November of 2022. And this car had been missing since 2007. So we're talking about almost 2008. So about 14 years, 15 years, right? So I was like, no, 2007. My math not so good. Yeah, almost 16 years, but 15 years. So I'm like, what? Oh my God, it's been going that long? So I said, I'm gonna go downtown and see if this is my car. So I go to this lot, I shine my lights in. I said, man, it looks like one, but I don't know if it's mine. You know, it wasn't the only one. So it was dusk, like 7 o'clock. So I said, I'm gonna go back again. I went the next day. It was still a little dark, but it was right before it got dusk, and I was able to go in there. I said, man, I think this is my car. Like, it's burnt orange. This is like, you know, you could tell some things have been done to it, but I was like, I think this is my car. So this guy was walking in there, and I called him a watchdog because he was like, what you doing here? What you doing? I was like, hey man, I think this is my car. He said, well, let me call the owner. Call him so we can talk, you know. So the owner came over, and as soon as the owner stepped out the car, he goes, Marvin James, what's up, man? This your car. And I said, what? And he goes, man, this your car, man. I've been waiting on you to come down and get it, man. Where you been, man? This your car. And I'm like, wait a minute. You've been waiting on me to get it. Why didn't you call me? Like, if you know who I am, you know how to get in touch with me. And a lot of people here in this area, in this town, they know how to get in touch with me. If they need to get in touch with me, like on everything, on God, on business, they know how to get in touch with me. So he was like, hey man, you know, I just assumed you just didn't want it, man. You never came back for it, blah, blah, blah. Apparently, the owner of the body shop took the car there, directly there. So it had been there the whole entire time. And I had no idea. Like, I'm literally driving from Warner Robins to Macon, driving past the streets. So I've been driving past this car the entire time. Had no idea that this car was still sitting here, like, just within my reach. So I'm like, you know, we go back and forth, and I'm gonna skip over that because this part kind of makes me mad. But anyway, dude said that because the car had been sitting there that long, that he needed a, what's that called? A storage fee. Anyway, like I said, paid the man his storage fee, took my car. Well, I ended up taking it before I paid him, but I ended up paying him off. I feel like it was a scam. I feel like it was messed up. It was ill-intentioned, but God was in the midst, and God ended up blessing me anyway. And here's the story. So I ended up getting that car back, and it had been 15 years. 15 years that car had been gone. It had been sitting outside. They had been working on it. Obviously, after 15 years, I'm not surprised. But they had been working on it, and I guess they got caught up and realized that not much they could do with it. They kept telling me, man, so many people had come by here trying to buy it, and they never sold it. So I was like, tow the truck to my boy CJ's house, CJ's shop. So we did. Got the car to CJ's shop, and I was excited because I was like, God, thank you for reconnecting me with this car. I'm ready to do it right this time. You know, whatever your will is, let me know because I'm so excited. So I had to start all over again. So I was hungry, like always, like the beginning. Went and got another donor car, a 2007 Dodge Charger RT for like $600. $600. Got that car, from out of this shop in Central Georgia, just up the road. And that was going to be the engine and the trans that I was going to use to put into this 70. So I had those two cars sitting there, and life happens.
You know what I mean? I really just I need the engine.
Even though I got reunited with that car, we're talking 15 years now, so prices have doubled and tripled as far as cost to restore. And not only that, the people that had the expertise that worked on those cars, those mechanics that were, working on those cars in the 70s and the 60s, 70s, and the 80s had passed on. A lot of the ones that I was even looking for had passed on during COVID. So I was sitting here stuck with a car that I know there's people around here that can use it, but it was just so expensive. It was a huge money pit. So here I was, 15 years later, with the car that I had lost, and not a plan and what to do. Oh, I forgot this one point. The owner of the body shop that got the tax evasion happened to him, that ran away and all that stuff, he had to go to jail. He went to jail right after that. So that's why I couldn't find him. And the reason why I haven't found him ever since is because he passed about a year or two ago. So shout out to him. He was really a real one. He really was trying to help me. Just got caught up in the situation. So anyway, so here I am with this car, both these cars now, and they're sitting at the shop. A month goes by, a couple months go by, several months go by, and then I come up on a year, and I hadn't done anything with the car. Hadn't been able to do anything with the car because, once again, life gets life, and it was so expensive to even do anything with the car, any kind of restoration. And I was working full time. I was working all over the clock. Got a family. Like, it was just a lot going on. So I finally decided, okay, this is just not for me. This was not God's will. I found the car, but there's another reason for it, another purpose for why I found this car. And so I put the car up for sale on Facebook Marketplace. I knew that I would get a lot of hits on it because it was a very popular car. Still a roller, had a lot of hard floors on it. The floors weren't that bad, but it had all the fenders, it had all the quarter pounder panels, it had the hood, it had the trunk, it had a lot of pieces to it. So I was still in a very good shape with the car as far as what I needed to do for it. So I put the car up for sale, but I did not want to, I didn't want to trade. I couldn't afford to have a trade on the car because I didn't need another car, but I didn't need like another piece of mess. Like, I guess I needed another project. So I did realize that during that process, like, oh God, okay, I see what you're doing, because people started offering me trades instead of money. And I was thinking I just needed the money, but I was like, you know what? Maybe somebody can trade me something that's more up to date, up to speed, that I can deal with. So I was like, okay. So I started entertaining trades, and I was like, look, man, some of the stuff was just so far-fetched. I was like, I really don't want it. This guy offered me a Challenger. I was really close to taking that offer, because it was a Mopar. But I really wasn't into the Challenger. I really wanted a Charger. So this one guy comes up and says, hey, I got
some stuff that needs to be done.
a Charger and some money that I can give you. So he ended up giving me a 2015, offering up a 2015 V6. And I was like, at the time, again, not doing a lot of my research, but at the time I was like, I'll just do a motor swap, a Hemi swap, and that'll be my project, So we worked on it, we talked about it, and I said, let's do it, because as much as I want this 70, it's just rotting here. It's not doing anybody any good. This is something that needs to live again, breathe again. I'm gonna let you go ahead and take it back and put it back to where it needs to be, because I can't do anything with it. Now, remember, I got that 2007 Dodge RT, Charger RT, that is sitting there as well. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I was like going back and forth. Maybe I need to sell. Maybe I need to, I don't know what I'm gonna do, because at this point, I don't need two projects. I can't even get one done. But look at God. And I say that because when I got rid of that 1970 Charger and was able to put it in his hand, in the new guy's hands, that's when God blessed me. That's when God said, not only am I going to give you this car, I'm going to give you the tools and the money to the finances to get this red car fixed. And so you're going to have two cars. And when I tell you that God will bless you, not when you think it's time, but when he thinks it's time. I'm talking about 15 years. People may give up on that. I definitely did. I lost my faith. I didn't have a clue about what the plan was or what was going on. But in that moment, God blessed me with two cars, two running vehicles, two cars that I was able to restore and afford to restore, something I can put a couple $100 towards every month, as opposed to a couple $1,000 every month. And it's just been amazing. The last year or so, last 8 months to almost a year or so, I have my 2007 Dodge Charger RT. This is a Hemi, 5.7. It's you know, it's still a game where I'm fixing it up as I go, but I drive it a lot. It's something that God has blessed me with, and it moves. It got plenty of speed, and it gives me a joy and a satisfaction to be able to have that. And now that I have this 2015 Dodge SXT, it's a V6, but it allows me to have the looks, and it allows me to have the gas mileage and to drive it and have the best of both worlds, both a V6 and a V8. Now, I know everybody's all into these V8s and these Hellcats and Scat Packs and RTs, and you know, that's great. That's great, but that's not me. I've never been this need for speed type guy. I'm not Ricky Bobby. I'm good with what I got. And people say it's slow. All cars got 100 mile per hour on the dash. That ain't slow. I'm not trying to beat that. I'm not trying to do that, but I'm just happy with what I have. The lesson, and I know it's a long story, but I wanted to share it because God took away from me something and allowed me to grow and to grow up and appreciate it. And even when he gave it back to me, I still wasn't ready. But I was ready to finally realize maybe this is time. Maybe this is what I need to do. And that's when he blessed me. You know the song, you know, that's when he blessed me. When I realized that I could no longer carry this burden of this money pit car, and I gave it away, essentially gave it to him, that's when he blessed me with double. He fixed the car that I'd already bought, and then he gave me a brand new car. 2015, to me, it was brand new because it was something that I just had to do some minimal work on to get done. Shout out to the gentleman that gave me that car too. He did a lot as far as helping restore it and making the price even, the fair trade example. So that's where I am now. So I tell people all the time, find you something to do, find you a hobby, find you something to get into. And that's what I've been doing the past 10, 15 years. Trucks, cars, is just something that gives me a joy and a satisfaction. And like I said, at the time, I didn't know what I was getting into, but God just said, get into it anyway. And I really, really, really felt like I was going to restore those cars. I said, man, this is, God got me. I know how much hard work it is now, and I respect everybody who was in that trade. And now along the way, guess what? I know somebody who can paint for me. I know somebody who does body work. I know somebody who does stereo work. I know somebody who does light kits. And that's that guy right there. CJ does all that. But I know somebody, I have individuals now that can help me out along the way, as opposed to me being so blind and so green at the very beginning of this journey. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. But God. So he took away what I felt like was my everything and gave me back double. And so now people may still say, well, I feel like you got ripped off. I didn't get ripped off because I couldn't afford it. And that's the thing. yeah, I could go around bragging and tell people I have a 70 Charger, but I can't do nothing with it. So it's been a blessing to be able to have that for me. And that's why I'm excited to share that story with you. I know I'm kind of rambling now, so I'm going to wrap this up. But just know whenever you're going through something that you may not understand at the moment, but God has a plan to make it worth your while, to make it worth your trouble. During those years when that car was gone, when I would drive around, I was triggered. I had PTSD. Whenever I saw another Charger, I would talk about it. I would pick up a magazine. I didn't want to. I was just so sad. I was so, just so shot out, man. I really felt like God had let me down. I felt like it wasn't fair, but He was growing me through that whole process. And in the meantime, all those parts for my older Charger, I sold. So I was able to make my money back along the way. And there's still parts that show up every 5 minutes, but I was able to make my money back, and now, be the proud owner, full title, full clean titles of 2 Dodge Chargers when I only had one, and it was a 2015 and a 2007. So that's what I wanted to share with you. I don't have an illegal chop shop. I know a lot of y'all see me selling car parts and stuff on Facebook or or what have you. Nothing illegal. It's just something that fell into my lap, and I'm just so grateful to be able to be in this position, because 15, 20 years ago, I didn't have the resources or the finances to do that. And I will tell you, sometimes, you got to put in more to come out less at the end. I wish that I would have known a little bit more, had a little more common sense, and for somebody to tell me a little bit. I would have put more on the front end and not paid $2,500, but paid maybe $5,000, maybe $7,500 for a car, and then maybe that would have been a little further along the way for me to get caught up. But what God has for me, it is for me, and that's exactly what I had to go through that. And even though along the way, like I said, when the guy charged me this bogus service fee, I still paid that, and I still was blessed. He couldn't take that away. That little bit of money I had to give him, it's probably gone by now. Probably was gone within a week or two. But look at me now. I am blessed, and I'm not bitter about it. I have moved on, and I'm so glad that God gave me the opportunity to have something that I dreamed about. And now, hopefully, I can continue to just enjoy it. So God bless. Thank you for listening to me ramble, for listening to me talk. I know this wasn't a very juicy story, or didn't have like the tea, like I said, but it definitely was a story of my testimony that I wanted to share with you. God bless. Peace out. We'll talk to you later.